Hello and welcome to the Magical Midlife Podcast, where you get a refreshing, uplifting and optimistic perspective on life in your 40s and 50s. I'm your host, Lindsey Rodriguez, and I'm delighted that you've joined us here today, so let's jump right in. Good morning, and welcome to the Magical Midlife, or today I might call it the Lindsey Show, because my guest is also called Lindsey, which I love. So welcome to the show today. I'm so pleased that you've come back to join us. Today I am with a very special guest, Lindsey Rodriguez. And Lindsey is, it's so funny saying Lindsey and Lindsey. Lindsey is a midlife lady in the mountains, and we have got plenty in common, and I cannot wait for her to share her story with you, because I've been thoroughly inspired by everything that I've seen, and I love it. So welcome, Lindsey.
Thank you very much, Lindsey, for having me. I'm very honoured to be on your podcast. You don't often get asked to be interviewed on podcasts these days, but I think it's just a really big part of the journey, isn't it, with midlife, is that new opportunities open up. You decide to go down different avenues. So being interviewed is lovely, and it's a lovely thing to be asked to do. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, I am looking forward to being inspired by your journey, because everybody's journey has just gems of wisdom in it, and I love it.
Okay, so I'll probably just first off tell you how I ended up in the mountains, because as you can tell from the accents, from Yorkshire.
Yes, so, you weren't born and bred in the mountains.
I wasn't, no, exactly. I wasn't born and bred in the French Alps. So I studied languages at university. So I was someone that from a young age always wanted to travel. You know, like travel was just magical to me. I wanted to get out and about, get across those borders. So mum and dad were like, learn the languages, love, learn the languages. You've got to do that to get out and about. So I did French and German marketing, worked in Germany for quite a few years. I actually thought I'd settle down there. But, and it's a big but, I always wanted to work in travel. So I ended up working for a tour operator, Thompson Holidays, and ended up traveling around quite a lot. So I was in Spain, in Greece, all over the place. And then they asked me to come to France to ski. And I didn't want to come. I said, no, I had this horrendous experience when I was in France on my year off. You get those year off when you're doing your degree.
Yeah.
And I'd had this absolutely god-awful ski experience. And I just said, that sport stinks. Like, no way are you getting me on skis, because this family that had taken me skiing for the weekend had shoved me in their boots, their skis, and put me on a bloody drag lift. So if anyone knows anything about skiing and, how much you need to learn before you even attempt to get on a drag lift. So I fell off it. I fell over. There was no instruction. It was just awful. So when they said, Lindsey, I want you to go and manage the Northern Alps, be based in Morzine and manage that for Thompson, I just went, absolutely no way. I want to go back to Tenerife. I was like, no, you can't go back to Tenerife. I'm like, I like Tenerife. It's sunny and hot.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
Need sun and sunshine. So I ended up here, and at the time Thompson just put something in the brochure that our reps could guide customers around the mountain. And then the ski school here said, absolutely no way. Right. We've had enough of this for years. We are stopping it. So because Thompson had put it in the brochure, we had to employ ski instructors to do all this free ski guiding.
Yeah.
And because my rep hated it, my rep wanted to ski guide, so he never promoted it. So one day he phoned me up and he went, Lindsey, there's a ski instructor here and there's no customers have turned up. Do you want to go? And I said, well, just tell him to hang on 5 minutes and I'll put my stuff on. And I might as well, if I'm here now, I might as well try this ski thing again. And it was Thierry, my husband.
No way. Oh, that's so cool.
So that's how I met Thierry. He'd just been on a trip to Australia, so he was charming me with all his English. And then I went off to work in, where did I go after that? Oh, Corfu. He kept following me. And then I went to Andorra because I had to manage the entire resort of Andorra plus Spain. Followed me there. And then I went traveling around the world for 18 months and he kept following me there. So I just said, oh, well, I might as well come back to Morzine and see how this holiday romance will actually work out. So yeah, 21 years later, and I'm still up this mountain.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's a lot of people don't know how I ended up here, and they get really confused and sort of think, oh, but you're English, but you live in France. Is that just a seasonal thing? Do you come back? And I'm like, no. And luckily, when I met Thierry, he had a chalet, so I chose the right instructor, Lindsay.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely.
So we ended up running a chalet. So we run a chalet business, chaletmorzine.com. That's who, what we do. We've been running it now for 20 years. So that's sort of like our baby, as it were.
Yeah.
And then the midlife stuff is something that, you can't put a break on it, can you? It happens.
Well, no, it does happen. Absolutely. So tell us a bit about your journey, because you had a bit of a journey with the whole thing, didn't you? Because I read about it just briefly the other day, but I'm sure you're going to tell it in a much more animated way.
Well, I think the journey for me starts off with a little bit of sadness in that I had a stillborn baby boy. So I had my first daughter, Chloe, and then fell pregnant with Tristan and lost him at birth. So that was an incredible journey to go through in, my mid-30s. You never recover, Lindsay. No. You never recover from that. I think what you do with that type of grief is that you just becomes part of you. And as time, time is a great healer, and that comes on, you just learn to accept it. I think around this topic is something that I need to cover a lot more, because I'm in groups now for stillborn, mums, and mums are joining these groups every single day. Yeah. And they're completely lost because there's no help.
Yeah.
And, there's help for people that lose children, that, younger children, but for mums that have lost stillborn babies, miscarriages, late miscarriages, or lost children to SIDS, there isn't a lot of help out there whatsoever. And that's something that is part of my business why, to start something to help these mums, because I was completely and utterly lost. I didn't know what to do. And family can only help so much, but the grief is real. So I then very fortunately had my second daughter, Leia. And there is a link now, and the more I look into all this, between stillbirth, miscarriage, and early menopause. Now, it might not be the case for everybody, but there are links that are showing. So whether this is something, I would imagine there's not a lot of research money out there to do that type of research. But there are articles out there that are suggesting that could be a reason and something that brings on early menopause. So, like I said, I was running the chalet. We lived underneath it at the time, and we're now back underneath it because we've sold our house. That was a decision that we made during COVID. We're back in, got another project on the go. So we're back in here. And when I was running a catered chalet, if you can imagine, I'm a very sociable person. So I was with my customers all the time, eating, drinking, taking them out skiing, trying to manage 2 kids, being, the accountant, the marketing person, the chef, the meal planner, the, cook and bottle washer, everything.
Everything.
Incredibly stressful, incredibly tiring. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I always wanted things to be top. At the time when I was in my peak with the chalet, we won, TripAdvisor awards, the top 7 B&B in France. I was, 5-star. Always, my reviews had to be 5-star. That's just how I am. I'm a bit of a perfectionist with it all. But it was very stressful. So when I started getting more anxiety, more stress, night sweats. Yeah. I went to the doctor, so early 40s, and I just said, this is really bizarre. And I've heard that hot flashes come with menopause. Yeah. And I am getting absolutely drenched at night. Yeah. My anxiety was terrible, waking up in the middle of the night, bloody insomnia. But then I did have a lot on my mind. When you're running your own business, you're your own entrepreneur. You've got no one to take it off your shoulders. Yeah.
I'd say you've got no structure to support you.
No, there isn't, you don't clock off at 5 and then you take a week's holiday, do you? It's constantly there. So I'd say that's probably the only downfall I would say about entrepreneurship is managing that aspect of it. So all of these symptoms, not so much the weight gain initially, but the sweats. And what was really stressful, and that's why I mentioned about losing Tristan, was because I kept missing the period. So for me, having made that decision, a really tough decision, because I did feel that someone was missing.
Yeah.
But I come from a family of two, and my husband comes from a family of two. So I wasn't used to having, a family of three wasn't really, we do tend to follow those patterns, don't we?
Yeah.
And we hadn't planned it. And I said, I got through Leia's pregnancy. I was very ill through all of my pregnancies. Morning sickness right till the end. Really, I was hospitalized with Leia because I just couldn't keep things down. So I had to be put on a drip. So, some people's experience of pregnancy are lovely and blooming and running through cornfields and flowers and all's just, nice, with all the long blonde hair flowing in the breeze. That was my, I was down with my head down the toilet. For I was going to say,
so it wasn't like that for you then?
Not at all. So that was really quite stressful.
Yeah.
Because having made the decision not to have any more children, because I decided I couldn't cope with the stress.
Yeah.
Missing periods was really, really stressful. And, I do know about the birds and the bees. And I had put a coil, and I went to the pharmacy, and my friend worked there, and she's saying, are you, about the fourth time you're going down there for a pregnancy test? She's like, are you sure you don't know to go and see the gynecologist? I said, I know what I'm doing, and it must be an immaculate conception this month because I've hardly been anywhere near him. So, I'm too sweaty. I'm stressed. I pushing him away, as we all do when we're going through this perimenopausal situation. So it was really tough. And it was only recently, Lindsay, that I realised that I'd gone through it really early.
Wow.
I'm 51. And I'd say literally, I only matched up the dots a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, it's the same for me. I didn't go through it really early, but I didn't realise what was going on. And I'd never even heard of perimenopause.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a clue.
Until probably last year or so, 2 years.
Yeah. And so what happened was, I went to the doctors and I said, look, I'm having all these sweats, this insomnia. I just don't feel right. I'm really, really on edge. And he just went, this is, I think it was 41 or 42. I can't remember now. Oh, you're far too young to have menopause. That happens in your late 50s. Nothing. Yeah. No, you're just stressed, and sent me away. So that was the sum of help that I got in France.
Wow.
From a male doctor.
Yeah.
Who just said, no, it's all in, basically it's all in your head. You're far too young. Just go and we'll deal with it. It's stress.
Oh my goodness.
So that was really hard. So looking back, I'm quite angry.
Understandably.
I'm not angry as in I don't want to carry anger, but I think it was a really miserable time.
Yeah.
My marriage was challenged because I wasn't happy and stressed. And, you're looking after small children. Nowhere near are you expecting to have those symptoms. So I just thought that the night sweats was something to do with the stress had just caused some, it was the stress. Honestly, everything I did, I put down to stress. So I didn't even think of researching it. So this is going back 10 years when, Instagram people and Facebook groups and all that, they just weren't around.
Yeah, and also nobody was talking about it. It was still this whole shame and, women of a certain age, except you weren't even that age.
No.
So you wouldn't even have fallen into that category.
So it just happened that I did then start putting a little bit of weight around my belly. And I thought, bloody hell, I'm not having this.
Yeah.
I'm not having menopausal weight gain. Well, I didn't know it was menopausal at the time, but I thought this is really bizarre. And I never really put weight around my stomach. It's always on my arse, on my thighs.
Yeah.
This belly came out. I was like, oh, I don't like this. So I set off a whole journey of natural health because I thought I knew my stuff about nutrition, and I'm still learning today. And this is what I think is really important for any nutritionist that's out there that you are going to work with. they need, even if they don't agree with certain methods, they need to be aware of them, because things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
So, and there are updates constantly, and every doctor sings from a different hymn sheet as far as nutrition's concerned.
Absolutely.
So if there was one main consensus, that would be great. I mean, and there is one main consensus, it's sugar. You know, sugar really, I don't think you'd get any nutritionist worth their salt recommending sugar. But
I just got a vision of somebody writing a prescription. You must have more sugar.
Yeah, have some more sweets. So I ended up booking on a whim a juice retreat, like a total whim. I'd been on one in Thailand. So when I did my travels 18 months when I was in my 30s, I'd gone on a health retreat in Thailand, and it was a water fast basically for a week.
Oh my goodness.
You know, you're in that traveling sort of phase. It was in Koh Samui. And it was a real water fast. We had this broth at night. That was all we had, but we couldn't actually chew the vegetables. It was all sort of like squashed through a sieve with loads of cayenne pepper.
Right.
I remember fainting a few times, not drinking enough water.
Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, Lindsay, I felt just incredible at the end of the week. And it wasn't about, and this is what retreats and fasting for me is about. You just feel so clear. And it was amazing whilst I was there. God, I've not talked about this in ages. And whilst I was there in Thailand, how you detox your mind as well. As such a deep water fast, you detox your brain. So loads of arguments or little things that have happened in the past would come to the surface, come to the forefront. You think, oh my God, I've not thought about that in years.
Yeah.
That would come up and that would come up. And it was really very, it was quite emotional.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely.
It was quite an emotional week. So I knew when I was looking for something that I wanted to help my weight gain, I thought, God, if I could just go on another retreat again. But Koh Samui was a bit far to travel.
Right. Yeah.
So I just found Jason Vale Juice Retreat in Turkey, and I just booked it, and I took my mum. I said, right, Mum, we're going on this juice retreat next May. And it was just transformational for me. It, again, felt fantastic. 4 juices a day, walking, yoga, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Just felt, it's that time for you.
Yes,
you know, a week
absolutely.
for yourself where you're not looking after everybody else. And you're not hungry. I was scared to death, thinking, "Oh my God, how much can I pack in my suitcase that they don't find? You know, like nuts and dates and stuff. How much can I stuff in here?" And at the welcome meeting, you've got to put all that in here. And I thought, it can bugger off. I'm keeping some in my room just in case I need it.
I bet you weren't the first or the last.
Yeah. And so that set off the whole journey on natural health. And that's just how it all started.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that?
So that was in 2013, I think. 2013. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so I decided to study it.
Yeah.
When I came back, I thought, do you know what? I really do enjoy this. And funnily enough, when I travelled in Australia, I nearly stayed in Sydney. Yeah. And I nearly signed up to do a naturopathic medicine course because it was something that always got my interest. Anyway, Thierry was on the scene, so obviously he pulled me right back to France. So I didn't get to do that. Didn't get the sunshine and Manly and Bondi Beach. I got the mountains instead. But I just thought, you know what, this looks really quite something that's up my street, just to learn and just have a string to my bow.
Yeah.
So I did that and carried on going on retreats, ran my own in Portugal. So did that a couple of years ago, actually. I did that in 2019, ran my own. My friend has a lovely one called Wildview Retreat in Portugal.
Oh, wow.
So I managed to rent that from him and then took a load of ladies from here to do that because I am going to be running them from my own chalet now. But at the time, I just wanted the sun as well myself.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just wanted to get away and have a bit of a change of environment.
Yeah.
So that set off, and that really, really helped me learning about nutrition. And then what I got into as well along the way was all about how to get rid of toxins from your home. Now, I had no idea how harmful your deodorant could be, how harmful your shampoo could be, your cleaning products. And the more I learned, the more horrified I got.
Absolutely.
Because I thought, how the hell can they sell this on the shelf? And, it's doing so much harm to our hormones.
I know. And it also says things like, natural, and it's all, what was the one, I guess it was advertised a lot when we were kids? Was it Timotei or something like that?
Oh,
those
all
sorts of brands that are all about, I hope the Timotei lawyers aren't going to come after me here. All about natural health and mountain spring water and all the rest of it. And then, as you say, when you start digging into it, it is toxic.
Awful. Yeah. Absolutely awful. And I didn't realize how bad it was. And it was funny because every Christmas, when I used to have to train my staff and I used to have to talk a lot, I would end up with laryngitis and bronchitis. I would end up quite poorly. We'd all have the winter colds, etc. And then through making these lifestyle changes of introducing more juices, taking away the toxins, chucking everything away in my bathroom cabinet, going much more. There was only one brand that I used, got essential oils. So I made all these changes and I felt so much better. Wow. I really did help myself during those few years. It was quite transformational. And that is what led me into another business venture of network marketing, which I'd never even considered before.
Right.
But that's something that allowed me to say, Linz, you don't maybe have to live on a mountain for the rest of your life. You don't have to, it gives you another solution to help yourself and reinvent yourself. I'm not just Lindsay Shalimourzine that lives here in the mountains. I can be somebody else. So just allowed me to put that other string to my bow and learn a lot, because I do like learning. I learned so much about social media, about myself, and so much personal development.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's been really key in the journey, is the personal development that I've done. How now I react differently to situations because I read so much around the subjects. I listen to podcasts daily. So we weren't as personally developed 10 years ago. We didn't really, well, I definitely wasn't anyway. And I wasn't really around people that talked about it.
Yeah.
I didn't get onto the, self-help books. I just thought I thought you only bought self-help books if you've got addictions or if you've got a problem.
Yeah.
I sort of classed it as the self-help rather than as developing your mind, developing your mindset, developing your attitude, and developing your characters so that you can react to situations differently. Because everything that happens in life, isn't it? It's about how we react to it and how we deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as we train our mind to get better and to get stronger and to get more confident with ourselves, then we do end up having a much better quality of life, because we're not, I'm still far from bloody perfect, Lindsay. I still have my reactions and my outbursts. But, don't get me wrong.
The thing I love about that, though, is that's perfect as it is. Because, do you perceive perfect as being, well, actually, no, I don't have any emotions?
Because, I suppose you're right. Yeah.
You're human, and that's the journey. But the journey is you don't let the emotions completely rule your life and take you over.
Yeah.
Because if you've armed yourself, educated yourself with more resources and different mindset, then you're in a completely different position to deal with whatever comes across your path.
Yeah, you are. You so are. And it's just because I think the whole thing about midlife, Lindsay, is that there are so much things that get thrown at us. I was at a wedding recently in Scotland, and I was talking to a lady there, a friend of mine, who's a gynecologist in Italy. And she was just saying the whole thing about women and how we just do. We just do it. We just get on with it. We just have to manage it. We just take everything on our shoulders. And what happens in midlife to lots of us is that, that if you've got children and the kids leave home, or, for us, for example, our eldest is now at university and our youngest, she's 15, but because we live up a mountain, she has to board in the week. So Terry and I have suddenly found ourselves, just the two of us.
Yeah.
You've got parents that are getting older.
Yeah.
So luckily my parents are in good health. My dad's 80, my mum's 77, but lots of friends of mine are not in that same situation. one of my friends has had to leave her job to look after both of her parents, really, really tragic situations. And we don't talk about that. We're not armed for that.
No, it's
We're
true.
not prepared to take on everything that we've got to take on. We've got the menopause thrown into the mix, the change, which is we do change.
Yep.
And I don't know about you, but good God, from 39 to 51, how that time has gone. When you're in your late 30s, you've just it's how it feels to me. You've just left your 20s behind. So and I was a party animal, like massive party animal.
I should think if you're working all the resorts as well.
Huge. I've always been a party animal. So is Thierry. Parties and out and about, people wouldn't know, me quoting health stuff these days and all that. It just the me today and the me of yesteryear was just not quite the same person.
Yeah.
So, but that's what you've got to do. I've got no regrets whatsoever. But you're in your late 30s and your 20s still feel fairly near.
Yes.
Because you've just left them, and then you turn 40. And I think for me, what happens is it's like that goes like a flash, because generally with kids, you're very, very busy with all of that. You're really into the full throttles of work and bringing the kids up. And then this 50 hits and you think, shit, the next one's 60. Like, how the hell
did that happen?
How you feel in your mind.
Yeah.
And I think that in that 10 year is just such a huge shift for me. That's how I perceive it.
Yeah.
A huge shift from being near your 20s to then, oh my God, is the next big party 60? Retirement.
I love the way that you measure your life between when the next big party is going to be. That says a lot about you.
Anybody watching my last reel will just see that as well.
Oh, I love it. It was fantastic. It was so cool.
I've danced all my life, Lindsay, so that's just part of me is dancing. And awesome. You've got to have fun. And so I just think midlife is a conundrum of lots of things. And that's what Beryl, my gynecologist friend, was saying. We have to, as a woman, we just have to take on so much. Yes. And sometimes it pops. I've had a very challenging time. I'll admit it. The last 4 months, we sold our house. We've moved. We had another project on that's got blocked by some Brits. And I'm not going to go into that detail on a podcast, but it's very disturbing. And we've, I think, God, what's going to happen? You're making big decisions, aren't you, about your retirement plan, your job. Whereas when you're sort of that early 40s, everything just seems, it's all right. Don't have to make those decisions yet.
No, I was going to say, there's also is momentum. You were just caught up in everyday life because there was so much going on with kids, with work or whatever. It was just, you didn't have to, or you weren't forced to think anything longer term than it was almost like school kind of talking about it now, that's how it feels. It's almost like school held you all in this container, and actually wherever your kids were within those school years, you were kind of bound by those restrictions of when they graduate this school or that school or whatever, and then it's university, and you didn't really think beyond the kids being at university.
No.
Because that seemed like so far ahead. And all of a sudden now you're here. And as you say, there's all of this, from the energetic healing perspective, which is where I come from, it's all of this stuff has piled on and piled on and piled on. And now you've actually got the time to face it. Your body is doing a natural detox with the help of Mother Nature, which can be very uncomfortable. And you've also got the time to think about it, which can also be very uncomfortable. No, it can have, that extra time on your hands. And not that I have, because I've got multiple businesses, but it's obviously given me time to concentrate more on launching myself into different things, much to the, humor of my kids. Mother's dancing around on TikTok. They're like, oh my God. But that's just how things go. But so tell us about your businesses now, because certainly from the social media perspective, you look like you just have you've created this incredible life. So tell us, what does it actually look like from your perspective? Because you're clearly busy as a bee.
I think for me, it's COVID definitely gave me the opportunity to delve more into where I'm going. What happened on my health journey was that like I said, I'd done the juices, done the oils, the toxin free, but I like to learn. I'm open-minded to different things. And a friend of mine talked about ketones. And at first, Lindsay, I just thought, oh God, that sounds like because I was more going down the plant-based, sort of diet. And I just thought, oh God, that just sounds like someone making bacon and egg look really healthy. And it's just not. So, I didn't even know what ketosis was. I never even heard of it really, because something that keto just didn't float my boat at all. And then I looked into it, and it took me a while to get my head around, because I like to know all the ins and outs and the science behind it. So I thought, this becomes something really good for my mum, because mum was getting she'd always been on a diet all her life. And menopause is a really big story of ours in our family, because mum had an ovarian cyst.
Right.
So she had an early menopause because she had a hysterectomy at 40. So, put onto HRT, put weight on, she'd stopped smoking at the same time. So she never shifted it. And it knocked her confidence for her entire life, this extra weight. So I thought, this would be really great for mum to try. And she was like, oh God, what's this now, Linz? And I said, look, so she loved the juices, she loves all this. But I think the thing is, it's trying to integrate something into your life that's very easy.
Yeah.
And the problem that you have with juicing, as much as I love it, is the time. It's the prep, it's the buying of the fruit and veg, it's the sorting it out. And it goes in fits and starts. So this for me was something that would be much more simple for mum.
Yeah.
And I bought it, got a 10-day trial. My mum tried it, I tried it. And at first I nearly spat it out. I thought, oh my God, that's so sweet. And then I just laughed at her, and I said, oh mum, I said, never mind. I said, we bought 10 days worth of this. I said, we'll just drink it. I said, it's fine, we'll just give it a go. And then actually we realised we'd not put enough water in, so I'd not even followed the instructions properly. That's why it was so sweet. And so we started drinking it, and I just started feeling really, really good. Now, I've naturally got quite a lot of energy, but what I really suffered with was mood, Lindsay. I'll be honest, Instagram probably gets the best of me, and Facebook, and that, because I can be a right miserable bugger at times. Just snappy.
Yeah.
I like things to go my way, and I can be a bit of a snappy arse if I'm a Leo, I'm a bossy person. So I like things to go my way. So if things that I'm like, and I can be moody. And everybody had always said, I think it's something I'd always suffered from PMT. Always suffered from PMT. Mum was always, when I was younger, throwing those flipping, sunflower capsules at me. What do we call the evening primrose?
Oh, evening primrose.
You need some of that.
Yeah.
Get some of that down. You drink, have some of those capsules. So mood has always been an issue. And I think still in menopause, you still get that in postmenopause. I'm in 7 years postmenopause now, but you still get that mood, I think, monthly. So it just completely transformed me from a mood point of view. Absolutely phenomenal. But then when you know the ingredients and how it works is it's brain health. So people mix it up all the time, Lindsay, and this is what's really frustrating, is they think it's a diet. They think, this is just a supplement that you take, and it's going to stop your appetite and stop you eating, and you lose weight. Well, appetite suppressant happens naturally because it actually regulates all your hormones, but it actually feeds your brain. We're fed with either glucose or ketones. And the more you learn about Alzheimer's, the more people learn about lots of different things like that. I'm making no medical claims, by the way. Just put a disclaimer in there. But the more you learn, the more, if you go to the doctors, they will talk about how important it is to have a fuel source of ketones. So whether that comes from the diet, which is 75% fats, 20% proteins, 5% carbs. So it's not the Atkins diet. People confuse that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one way of getting into ketosis, but it's tough. So through me drinking ketones in the morning, I have water, drink my ketones, and then I have a low carb lunch, because sugar isn't good for you, and it's not good for us in menopause. There's a lovely lady on Instagram called The Menopause Nutritionist.
Right.
And she made a post the other day that she got hammered at because she said, is your bowl of porridge as healthy as you think it is? And it's not, because it's full of sugar. You know, the sugars that are in there are actually, for menopausal women, a better choice would be eggs and salmon and avocado.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking at the fats and the proteins and the things that we need. So it's been a whole switch of like, oh my God, I thought it was all about beans and lentils and, you know, which are healthy. You know, everything's in moderation, isn't it? It's just
absolutely.
But the refined sugars of potatoes and rice and stuff like that is something that we need to be aware of. So drinking ketones for me has been just quite simply transformational. Mum lost her weight. She went from climbing up the stairs on her knees to running up the stairs.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she has a very powerful testimonial. I've got a little video of it.
Yeah.
So she has been transformed, and the majority of women that I speak to in going through this menopausal stage, ketones help you with sleep, brain fog, fat loss, muscle preservation, because we lose muscle, skin, digestion, energy, mood. It's all of those things. So for me, it's such an all-in-one package. You know, you drink that in the morning and you can have a caffeine-free one in the afternoon. You are going to really be helped in getting your hormones regulated, your brain is fed. And when your brain's fed, it can tell the rest of your body what it needs to happen. So it makes sense. It's perfect sense. It's about brain health and longevity.
So my question, just like so many of us didn't know about menopause, perimenopause, all the rest of it, and it's just not talked about. Yet, as you say, when you learn about it, it makes so much sense. And then, you know, it's like these light bulbs are going off, going, oh, of course.
Yeah.
So how come ketones? That's not public knowledge, or maybe it is, and I'm just really behind the curve, living under a rock. I don't know.
No, it's
Why
incredibly
is it not public
new.
Knowledge?
It's incredibly new, Lindsay. We're trying to get the message out. We've not fully launched in Europe yet. So, and it's still yet to launch in the UK. So exogenous ketones have been used by lots of companies for a long time, but they were not able, you couldn't bring it to the market. Pure ketones tasted disgusting.
Right.
Like absolutely vile, the pure ketone ester. So this is something that there were certain companies that would provide like Tour de France cyclists with, athletes, because that really helps to enhance performance. But you couldn't really take it to the market. It was so expensive and tasted disgusting. So we've managed to bring it to the market in America now. There's the research and the doctors are phenomenal. It's all science-based. So the doctors, the variety of doctors involved, Dr. Mary Newport, Ryan Lowry, Dr. Ken Ford, Dr. Daniel Amen was on one of our conferences recently. So all these brain guys, these amazing people are behind it. So it's all science-based, incredibly natural, naturally fermented. And it's the only one on the market, because a lot of stuff is, when something's cheap, it generally doesn't work. So
it's kind of filtered down.
Exactly. This cheaper stuff that say they won't get you into ketosis. I drink ketones every morning, and within 59 minutes, my body is in natural state of ketosis.
And how does that feel? When you're in a natural state of ketosis, what is that feeling?
Just feels fantastic.
In what way?
Feel energized.
What's different?
Feel energized. I feel positive. And the testimonial that I've just done recently, one of my ladies, she started drinking on the 3rd of November. She went, oh my God, I just feel so positive. I feel great. I've got energy. So you want to go out and do exercise. You want to eat better. Your hormone levels, your leptin and ghrelin levels are much better. So you make better choices. So, and you sleep better. So when you're sleeping better, naturally, you're not going to jump on the sugar. So it's a whole it gets you out of this. Well, it helps to get you out of this vicious cycle that we find ourselves in menopause. I mean, my husband is an ultra trail runner.
Oh, wow.
So he ran the ultra trail of Mont Blanc in August. He takes ketones for performance and for helping him to have a fuel source when his glucose levels are depleted straight into his system. So athletes use it a lot. Men use it a lot. My daughters drink them for, focus, particularly around exams. My daughter's got acne, so she drinks them for that. So it's for everyone.
Wow.
But I like to think of, for menopause, because it hits all those things really, really quickly, all in one. When I was doing essential oils, I'd be having to go, take an oil for that, do that for this, do that for that. And for juices, do that for, it's confusing.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it's a lot to take in. So if all I can say to someone is, get up in the morning, don't worry about breakfast, drink some water, shake your ketones, drink your ketones over 30 minutes, and then have a low carb lunch at lunchtime. Most women, particularly busy mums, can manage that because it's actually quite a help. So, and that's the whole thing has just started from 2 years ago, from me. Yeah, just over 2 years ago now, from trying ketones. So
you've got the ketone business.
Yeah.
You've got the chalet business.
Yeah.
You're on social media.
Yeah.
What else is going on? Because you sound quite busy.
Building a house. So we're currently doing house plans. We've got one house plans we've got to put in next week, and we're renovating. So a lot of interior design and stuff like that. So I have to be involved in, I've got a lot better over the years, Lindsay, at interior design. It wasn't my forte in the beginning, but when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be a jack of all trades, don't you? So taking on a chalet, I didn't know it's what wood to choose, what doors to choose, what flooring to choose. All this was like an absolute minefield. Whereas now it's pretty much,
now you know what to do.
Yeah, and it's fun. I enjoy it. So hopefully we'll be able to build our other house and get into that.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. That it's fun. I enjoy it. And that surely should be at the base of any project that you now take on.
I enjoy all of it, Lindsay.
Exactly.
There's nothing. The only thing I've changed recently in the last few years is that doing the chalet as a catered business was tough. Yeah. Because it wasn't in my control. I'd set off this podcast telling you I'm a bossy person and I'm a control freak. So when I'm having to employ chefs and rely on staff to do my job that I did in the beginning, in the early years, it's difficult if they don't meet my standards.
Right.
So I did have an amazing chef the last few years, but it was just stressful. And a lot of the stress came from having to provide this gourmet evening meal with wine, different wines, different menus. Kids didn't eat this, vegans, all that sort of stuff. So it was difficult. Yeah. So I decided to go self-catered because I wasn't getting joy from the catering side. So we've gone self-catered, and that's allowed me to develop more on my other businesses. But all the social media and everything, it's all about developing you, really.
It is,
it's not,
absolutely.
It's not really about being, someone said, oh, you're trying to be an influencer. It's not that. It's you've got to get your message across. So naturally, you want to get your message across to as many people as possible. So you do want your audience to increase, but it's not about being a fancy influencer or something. It's just about sharing the positivity. Yeah. Oh, and one thing it's funny, you forget how your message affects other people. I got recognised in the theatre in London. Oh, hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. We were in London with my parents for my dad's 80th birthday. Took him down there when I finally got to see them after 2 years. And there was a lady in the theatre, and I was sat next to her, and she just said, "Are you Lindsay from Instagram?" I said, well, I am called Lindsay and I am on Instagram, but I'm not sure if I'm, again, we sort of play ourselves down, don't we? I said, oh, I'm not sure I'm the Lindsay that you're thinking of. She went, you live in France. What are you doing here? I was like, oh my God. And she just said to me, your reels, your posts make me smile. They make me happy. Thank you so much. And I just thought, you do forget, and this is a message for any entrepreneur that's out there thinking they've got imposter syndrome or that nobody's watching. You forget how many people do watch, and you do forget how many lives you can impact just by sharing your message. And I think the more people that you can spread the positivity to and say that life isn't over at menopause. Yes. It is a magical time, Lindsay. It's a time of change. It's a time of reinvention. Yeah. It's a time of taking stock, but it's also a time, as Gary Vaynerchuk said, we're not over it at 50. we have got, a good 30 odd, hopefully 40 years again ahead of us to reinvent ourselves. We've just got to have the courage to do it. So
yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, on that note, I think we'll call it a day. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you for rounding it up. I don't need to.
No worries, Lindsay. No worries. It was a pleasure to speak to you and allow me to share, because I haven't really shared all that for a long time. So maybe I need to share it more.
So super special. So Lindsay for Instagram, how can people find you?
So I am on Instagram. So it's Lindsey, Lindsey J Rodriguez on Instagram, and Lindsey Rodriguez on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, and at the moment in French, I'm on TikTok. I've got to create another channel in English because the French side of it is going mad, because we have this conversation in English, but the conversation in French is so lacking. So
really? Interesting.
So lacking. So to say about what other businesses, I'm having to do exactly everything that I have to do in English in French, and I'm just starting that. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's quite a challenge, but yeah, it was obvious. TikTok went from 0 to 20,000 in French like that, talking about menopause. So I just need to hone in on that. So I've had to pull back because I haven't got all the material in French and the stuff to give to them, which sounds rubbish, but I don't want people coming to me and I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I've just got to, I'm recreating a new lead magnet and things, a little PDF for people to download and to have some tips to get onto my email list. So that's all something new that I hadn't done before. Again, imposter syndrome. Who am I to do it?
Absolutely.
Tell people. But you just have to do it because someone out there is waiting for your message. So you've just got to get out and share it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing it with us today. And it's absolutely joyful that we've chatted. I love that. I'm so grateful that we've connected. And thank you for sharing, your positivity, your optimism, and your experience.
Lovely. It was a pleasure, Lindsay. Thank you very much for having me.
What did you think of the show today? If you've enjoyed it, please leave a review on whatever podcast platform that you're listening on. Also, you can come and join us at the Facebook group for The Magical Midlife. And if you're on Instagram, I'm under Lindsay de Swart, where you will find the podcast being released there every Wednesday. I really look forward to seeing you there and hearing your comments and any questions. And please come over to the Instagram account or to the Facebook group, where you will find downloads and free gifts to help you lead your most magical midlife. See you there.